Okily Dokily, we are going to be doing something a little bit different, I guess, for this video. So we're going to be actually checking out some Mario games. Yeah, Mario, he is a war criminal, and yeah, I mean, just genocides, Goombas, fucking Koopas, blobfish-shaped moles. I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of bodies under that little gut of his. If you sort of catch my outward drift there. But but on a more serious note, even if Mario, doesn't actually kill the enemies he steps on, like this guy from Korra, really seems to believe in such a prosperous theorem. Either way, yeah, Mario and his enemies in these platforming games they're still going to battle, even still, and if there's a battle, then supposedly there is a narrative to have somewhere here, and obviously Mario games, they aren't exactly known to have, very much dialogue or anything of that general sort of nature, but they do have, settings, they do have themes, they do have music and other stuff, and of course Mario himself, well, he is a very strong, I guess, an expression of movement, an expression of, relative, jubilance, free from, shackled free from, the corporate world or, the modern, sort of world that is a little bit boring. Mario and his freedom of movement are supposed to sort of represent, I guess, some good times, I guess you could put it, feeling, rebellious in a sense. Mario gets to run and jump on anything he wants pretty much for the most part, and, no one's going to tell him no, and, yeah, that is certainly something that you could get attached to, but either way, of course, obviously, somewhat relating, Mario to this channel, the series we're talking about, Fire Emblem, the fact that there are in fact battles still going on in these fun little kids games, it's interesting that we should take a little bit of a look at them and see what we can learn. Yeah, Mario, he's got the hops on him, and apparently, other humanoid characters, can also, have the hops in the Mario series, as we do see a fair few of them. But ultimately, it appears that most of the other enemies, I guess, that Mario fights generally aren't jumping that much, and they can't exactly reach the blocks that Mario can to get the hidden stashes of items that are conveniently placed for Mario to make it easier to commit genocide, including practically nukes and of mass destruction, aka Starmen, and other really interesting and interesting interpretive drugs like the mushrooms that make him go a little bit elongated, and let's just say that. But either way, here in the first level, obviously we see some blocks, and then we see some pipes, which are kind of like fortifications. They kind of help defend the Goombas a little bit from Mario's all-seeing wrath, and that sort of killer instinct of yesteryear that Mario uses to clear a path on the battlefield. But either way, of course, yeah, there's quite a few different little enemies, though they're in small, groups and battalions, basically like pair up in Fates and stuff. And yeah, well, it was an effective strategy in Fates and especially Awakening, but here in Mario, it is, yeah, it makes it easier for Mario to bounce on multiple of them at once, and it makes it easier for him to clear them out in sort of a rhythmic fashion. He bumps on one, he bumps on another, and before you know it, Mario gets a one-up, and yeah, so being in groups isn't necessarily a good thing for Mario soldiers. They need to be a little bit more spread out, and obviously taking up different elevations is good, like the flying paratroopers or the Lakitus. They give Mario a bit more trouble than just enemies being on the ground. But of course, yeah, there are random blocks scattered throughout the air, and there here in 1-1 we do see some more weird little fortifications that don't actually end up amounting to much other than just slowing Mario down and potentially pissing him off. But either way, of course, Mario, he heads to the final fortification at the end, the giant staircase, before claiming the enemy's territory for himself. So on to 1-2. Okily Dokily, so we're on to 1-2, and this is underground. It's kind of scary, but also, maybe I don't know, maybe it's a refuge of sorts for all the all the Goombas and Koopas that don't want to fight, or maybe it's just some kind of bunker. But either way, of course, yeah, there are some blocks here at the start that only Mario can access, and none of the Goombas and Koopas in this little bunker. So yeah, that's cool, and some more weird little picket lines, I guess, right here. Then a little bit further in, obviously, we do see some conglomerations of blocks that yeah, they sort of act like barricades, especially this first one here, and that makes Mario more likely to get hit by the Koopa and the choke point, here, or the Goombas. But either way, they're not exactly very threatening unless Mario charges headfirst into them. And the next Goombas we see over here, they are at different elevations than on ground level, which is pretty good. That's obviously what I advocated for. Still, though, they're not exactly fit to do any sort of proper combat with Mario. But either way, of course, there's there's a little gap here, and some weird fish plant things or something to that effect that sort of act as natural fortifications and barriers and obstacles to Mario. And finally, some more weird sort of gaps and some weird rotating blade platform thing that can be a little bit dangerous to Mario, but he just has to have good timing. And as you know, platforming is all about timing, as is warfare. But of course, yeah, Mario deals with it pretty easily, and you can, head out in the, outside after he's done wiping out everyone inside the bunker, or he can, find the secret exit on the other side of the little blade platform thing here, and he can find their hidden transportation of rail networks that is connected, directly underground. I don't know exactly how the Goombas and Koopas are supposed to reach these rail networks, seems a little bit inefficiently designed, but whatever. But yeah, Mario, he can capture another enemy fortress, and yeah, that is cool. The 1-3 is just kind of a weird sort of mountainous sort of, I guess, little battlefield where it's relatively sparsely populated with enemies, and it's just mostly just a nice little hike for Mario to get himself warmed up to take on one of the main fortifications, of course, being Bowser's castle. Now, Bowser, apparently he captured Mario's girl, and that's why Mario's going on this rampant genocide, as you would put it, or this very strong wake in his path, as you could put it. But either way, though, Bowser he doesn't exactly appear to be the greatest in terms of military fortifications. I mean, obviously his little rotating saws, or yeah, is also known as fire bars, I guess you could put it. They sure do rotate all right, but not very fast. And yeah, they're placed in sort of a zigzag formation. And the zigzag formation, yeah, it's not exactly the greatest war formation in any sense. It's not good for offense. It's not good for defense. I mean, with the right warriors, you can make it happen. But the way these fire bars are placed, they're not going to be stopping anyone anytime soon. Let's just say that. And yeah, Mario easily defeats Bowser, except whoop, actually Bowser is a decoy. So I guess Bowser does have a little bit of knowledge in war tactics, and also the girl that Mario, thought was in the castle is also a fake as well. Lay sigh, but yeah, I think we get the picture. Bowser, for the most part, is quite incompetent at at planning out, his fortifications and whatnot. And his soldiers, they are merely sacrificial pawns, pretty much all of them. But I mean, as we do progress through these levels here in the first Super Mario Bros. Game, there is a little bit of progression in terms of relative difficulty it is for Mario to use his almighty powers to pass the yoke of the Hammer of Judgment down on these poor very very docile foes of his of yesteryear, or something to that general effect. Still, though, it's quite easy for Mario to just jump and, forcefully head down in a very, very, elevator, like fashion, and just completely crush the necks of, these turtles, or these, little chestnut, goobers that taste like Nutella. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy for Mario that it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it feels good to him. I mean, pushing down on other people and they just squish like right underneath your boot. And you can feel them sort of like draining away, like like some Orbeez or something, like you squish onto a thing of like Jello and stuff, and it just completely molds and caves into your foot, and it feels kind of weird, but also kind of cool and stuff. And yeah, Mario. I mean, yeah, he probably does take some kind of pleasure from that experience, considering just how many things that he stomps on, how many lives he takes away, just for his own sick pleasure. This absolute freak of a man. But how much of a freak in bed is he with Princess Toadstool, over here sitting high and mighty and haughty toddy, as you would put it? Does Mario, give Toadstool the proper amount of action, the proper amount of respect that she deserves? Who knows what Mario's like in those types of affairs. And well, either way, of course, Mario, he goes about his business, and it's just standard stuff, blocks, hitting them, getting power ups, feeling good, cleaning, getting ridding the world of these absolute menaces who are just walking in straight past. I mean, what are they doing with their lives? It's very clear that Mario should just end all their suffering, for the sake of everyone and the good of all. So, yeah, that's very, very cool. In terms of other interesting things in the Middle Worlds, there is, World 2-1 here, and there are a little bit more of a proper fortification, I guess. I mean, they're mostly just, random scatterings of blocks that act as platforms for Mario. There's a bit more leveraging, a bit more extra layers on this chapter. It's not necessarily built as a fortification, and it's a little bit more effective than World 1. Of course, there's the cloud section where Mario can just, sort of choose to skip over all of it. But yeah, I don't know exactly how much these weird plant, fish, sort of hybrid creatures are part of the army. Maybe they're just natural, wild deterrents. For Bowser and stuff, but they are actually pretty good at their jobs, I guess you could say that. But either way, Mario ascends down from the heavens and cleases upon these very feeble existences, and he completes this level. World 2-3, it has this weird sky bridge scaffolding type of thing that's positioned in between two mountains on both ends here. I don't really know exactly what this is supposed to be or why it's built like this, but apparently one of the Bowser armies thinks this is a good idea, to have everything be completely flat and out up in front of them. I mean, obviously they do bait him into going onto the bridges so they can lob up these homing projectiles towards his face, but they don't exactly have the greatest aim. And it looks like they're so far down, below Mario, that they're going to have to lob it at a pretty unique angle to even have a shot of hitting Mario. And yeah, it doesn't seem to be the most effective strategy, but they're at least doing something a little bit different instead of completely rolling over and dying. So that's good to see. But yeah, they head to the next little fortress here. The World 2 fortification here, it has a branching path here at the start, and that's a pretty good idea for confusing Mario and throwing off his vertigo, as you would put it. Hopefully we'll see more of that in the future, but yeah, more spinning things. That's definitely the lay of the land in this level. So yeah, spinny, rotating, whatever things. They can, I guess, maybe do their job as well, but they haven't exactly deterred Mario so far, so let's see where that leads later on. But either way, 3-1, yeah, I mean, 3-1's not really built with any particular fortifications in mind. I mean, it kind of looks like a little bit of a battlefield, but it also kind of looks more like, a nice little town. I mean, we got a nice little bridge here in the middle, overlooking the river and the walkway, and the Goombas, they're walking each other across the river here. And it's actually set up pretty nice. I mean, look at all these little Christmas trees and, all these decorative little blocks, placed, pretty strategically, throughout the city. I mean, it looks actually pretty nice. It's, some nice landscaping that they got here. apparently the Hammer brothers are robbing this retail store. They're throwing hammers at the windows, but this is a pretty cute little town, I must say, though. Yeah, I mean, they have some like little towers here, I guess, sort of, that kind of act as fortifications, but things look to be pretty in a pretty jolly mood, I would say. 3-2, though, it's a much different feel. There's literally pretty much nothing here except a couple of little stockades that they put on the ground, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just an open plain, an open battlefield. So I guess they took cues from Fire Emblem Echoes and just pretty much did 5 to 7 damage each time, and just are general nuisances rather than trying to actually kill Mario or anything to that effect. But I guess sometimes the open battlefield is a much more personal and a much more a much more vindicating sort of endeavor. But either way, Mario, he makes a mockery of every Koopa that has ever existed, and yeah, he just tosses them around, reverberates their shells onto the cold and dusty little ground here, and yeah, it certainly sends shockwaves to the rest of the Koopa army. But in 3-3, we have some weirdly placed mountains before heading on to another fortress, presumably at the base of said mountains. And yeah, there's more spinning stuff and more very, very, I guess, symmetrical, fortifications, symmetrical sort of defense mechanisms, as we can see here at the start. I mean, I guess this part here isn't exactly symmetrical, but there's more balls, fireballs, very hot balls that are being flown at Mario's face, and luckily Mario is a little bit more than a two-sport athlete, and he puts the balls in the places in the goals that they're meant to be put in, and puts down this third fortress. So on to 4-1, and this battlefield, well, it's open, and I think maybe they were going to set it up as a fortification, but they only got about 40% of the way done, and yeah, that's unfortunate, but luckily they do have air units, and yeah, these air units are by far the most effective at deterring Mario, and would have helped if he had a few more different barricades, a few more different roadblocks, like the pipes, a few tall pipes that Lakitud can just throw down his projectiles down inside, and Mario would have a very hard time avoiding them, but it's much easier for Mario to avoid them on the open plain. And yeah, either way, though, of course, these air squadrons, the air marshals, they have much more leverage over Mario being in the sky, and also being of relative swift of foot, not having to be dragged down by the inherent and utter tragedy that is the leitmotif of gravity, as you would put it. Gravity, it's not exactly something anyone wants, but at the same time, people, like getting down and dirty at the same time. So, it's kind of a wishy-washy, two-hole, sort of Chinese finger trap, if you will. But gravity, it exists to serve a purpose, and I am gravitated towards all of you, my amazing viewers. But yeah, there's a really cool coin block, a little bit of, army rations at the back here. It's pretty fun to bonk your head on, like a very, very free-flowing slot machine that just kind of flows and goes. But yeah, in chapter 4-4, they actually brought back the idea of using multiple paths throughout the citadel, but unfortunately they forgot to put any actual troops stationed in between these tight and narrow paths, and yeah, that's not exactly a good accounting strategy, let's just say that. Either way, though, of course, Mario, he does waste time, doing the dance, the unfortunate and, very ghastly and, redonkulous sort of dance, but eventually he does get to the halfway point of this game and defeats yet another Bowser. And things are starting to get a little bit tense, I must say. But yeah, now we're halfway in the game, so now it's time for the time skip, and after, Mario, gets, has his fun, saving all of the mushroom people, and maybe having a few mushrooms himself. He finally gets his act together and completes the other half of the game. the other very, very unfortunate and much sadder half of Super Mario Bros. Things have gotten so sad that the Bowser enemy army has resorted to using actual artillery. Yes, very, actual live, real artillery on the battlefield to have to defeat Mario and, to go to such lengths to, just kill one man. I mean, it is quite unfortunate, quite very poetic, and just a very, very sorry situation indeed. Well, I mean, there's not much words to say for it. I mean, just look at this. Well, either way, though, of course, Mario, he maybe starts to feel the weight of his actions because maybe his jumps are getting a little bit heavier. Things are starting to feel a little bit more, a little bit more draggy. He's starting to feel the very seepy and, the undulous part of the mud that keeps dragging through his heels and his shins. And eventually, I think it's going to get to be too much for him. But either way, he trudges on. And yeah, it is very cold out, as you can see here by these trees. It's getting colder by the minute. And who knows how long this very storied conflict is set to go upon. But I mean, just look at how many bullets are flying. I mean, it's just a very, very, a reverberatingly sad story all around. The army, they're losing all of their morality at this point, and there's just so much that, and so indescribably bad. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's really bad. I'm gonna fucking kill Bowser so bad. Holy shit. But, okay, either way, on to 7-1. The formations and, the general, types of things. There's more flying enemies. The Bowser and the army here in 7-1, they control the skies a lot better, but, still no match for, the old, 9-inch vertical, as you would so surmisingly put it. But yeah, Mario, he just he bops, he beeps, he boops, he borps, and yeah, gets his way through this beepingly, engrossed sort of battlefield. But yeah, finally in 8-1, Bowser Army, they're just throwing up random fortifications and hoping anything works. And yeah, there's more bullets, of course, and there's also more heavily armored units that encapsulate these bullets, as you will, encase them in a very, very thick plate of ignorance and deference. And yeah, so yeah, there's definitely a little bit more treacherous terrain that Mario has to deal with. He has to, I guess, cross the Seneca Rocks, as you would so surmise. But luckily for Mario, the enemies here, they aren't exactly the sharpest tools, up down these down these old hollers, as you would put them. But yeah, Bowser, he does put his strongest warriors, right before the castle, and boy, are these warriors, way tougher than Mario, anything Mario's ever had to face. And Mario, he can't just breeze by them. He has to, weigh and dance, with these with some of the toughest warriors on the continent, and it's quite an illustrious and quite swanky ordeal. Let's just say that. But either way, if Mario is, if he has the resolve to defeat all of the Hamer brothers, eventually he'll get to the castle where he will not find the strongest soldiers, but he will find, a very, very elaborate sort of maze thingy, which has, some pretty complex logic circuits, I would say. I think Bowser has been, crafting, some pretty powerful processors, let's just say that, in his spare time. I mean, look at how difficult the maze is in this final chapter. I mean, I've never really seen anything like this in any sort of medieval, castle sort of sense. I mean, yeah, Bowser, apparently he's a real genius, but, that doesn't save him from eventually, Mario finding him through this, through his drainage pipe and killing him. But still, I mean, yeah, I mean, Bowser, he does fall, but as you would say in this game, you have multiple lives, and it's not, the game's not over till the game's over, as you would say. So Bowser eventually comes, resurrecting, back to life later on. But still, it's interesting the fact that Mario is so easily able to, just put down all these Goombas and Koopas, and there's so many Goombas and Koopas and stuff. How do they all reproduce and stuff? Those are some really, really tough questions and stuff like that. They're very, very, important and crucial for, the motivations, the way of life, the everything about this world that Mario lives in, but we don't have any answers. And as long as Mario continues to live, he will continue to jump on Goombas and Koopas and, Bloompas, as long as, time will allow him to. And that's pretty scary, but apparently the Goombas and Koopas, they don't really want to put up a fight, so maybe they're fine with it. Maybe they like being dominated. Maybe they like being one-upped, as you would put them. Maybe they're kind of into that. This is such a weird world Mario is. There's genocide and there's stomping kings. But either way, of course, narratively speaking, what does Mario actually represent? It's such an enigmatic topic, but either way, of course, that's all for this video. We might come back to see what makes Mario's mind tick, though I am ghastly scared as to the answer that lies at the end of the flagpole. But toodaloo.